The limits of tolerance. The concept of tolerance has always bothered me a little. First of all, it sounds a little bit condescending. I don't like your behaviour, but I will tolerate it. By saying that we tolerate something, we are at the same time making it clear that we disapprove of it. But the nuances of language aside, there are other issues that we should also consider. First, we need to recognise that tolerance is a fairly recent Western and probably middle class idea. Yet we assume that the concept is a universal value, or have attempted to elevate it to such a position. It's almost inevitable and certainly understandable that those who adhere to a particular value will argue that it's universal. It's all but implied in the concept of value. Yet, historically and culturally, there are many belief systems that do not enshrine tolerance as a value or even consider it desirable. Let's consider a hypothetical religious belief system in which a group of people believe themselves to be the recipients of a divine revelation demanding that all people worship the sun. Worship of the sun is the only way to achieve salvation. As long as any one living person does not worship the sun, all souls are in jeopardy. Anyone who does not worship the sun is seen as an enemy of the sun, forfeiting not only their own salvation, but threatening also the salvation of all sun worshippers. Tolerance within such a system of belief is unthinkable. Tolerance under such a system would be sin. It's a very modern, Western, middle class notion that all religions will preach love, peace, and tolerance. Many have not. Many do not. This is a corollary of our equally modern, Western, middle class notion that all religions are the same. They are not, they never have been, not even in their essentials. Even if we genuinely do believe that tolerance is a universal value, we can't expect others to automatically share that belief. The other issue with tolerance, of course, is tolerance of what? Another way of asking this is, are there limits to tolerance? Whether we consciously acknowledge this or not, it seems clear that there are behaviours and belief systems that even the most tolerant among us do not feel any obligation to tolerate. I could choose any number of real life issues here, but to continue with the hypothetical example, there may be those who believe that it's required of them by their sun god to destroy non believers, even if it means destroying themselves in the process. In this way, they may believe, they obtain special favour in the eyes of their deity. It's no use those outside this belief system arguing that this is contrary to some other aspect of this belief system. That may be true, but those who believe it nevertheless believe it, and they believe it wholeheartedly. Most of us perhaps would argue that such behaviour should not be tolerated. Should the belief system that leads to such behaviour be tolerated? That's a much more difficult question. Almost every religious belief system that's ever existed and that exists today has led to behaviour that we probably should not tolerate. There are many, many, many examples where a belief system results in behaviour and practices that we in the West will not tolerate, perhaps justifiably so. A proposed limitation on the concept of tolerance is the balancing concept of harm. The argument is that we should tolerate any behaviour that does not bring harm to others, to oneself. This sounds all right as far as it goes, but questions inevitably arise. What constitutes harm? What degree of harm is required before it becomes intolerable? Is all harm harmful in the long term? Our sun worshippers may believe that women can only be saved by serving as slaves to their husbands. This may be considered harmful to women by outsiders, but to insiders, including even the women themselves, this may be regarded as eternally beneficial. It's a very slippery slope to argue that the women themselves only believe this because they've been culturally indoctrinated. This may be true, but this argument can be made of any and every belief. There's something very arrogant about the outsider telling the insider that they don't really believe something. The concept of tolerance is not as straightforward as we might first believe. It almost certainly does not stand for anything goes, nor does it relieve us of the responsibility for making ethical judgments in each case that confronts us. We may get some of those judgments right, we may get many of them wrong. Unfortunately, there are no easy shortcuts in ethics, and the concept of tolerance certainly does not provide one.